So you ever find one of those books that is like a must-read book, right? No matter where you're coming from, you would say that you find a book that you're like, man, this is one you really have to read. Well, today I have that book for you guys. Now, my name is Marcus. This is Discover Ignite, where we discover possibilities and ignite change. And today I'm doing a book review on a book called Evolving Ourselves by Juan Enriquez and Steve Gullans. And I must say, you want to stick tight for this particular book review because this book is phenomenal. So you may not have already noticed from the intro that I really enjoyed this book, right? It was one of those books that I found on one of those must-read lists, and I believe I actually heard it from a guy named Tom Bilyeu. If you guys don't know who that is, you know, he's an extraordinary man that's trying to do a lot of good in the world, and nonetheless, it was one of the books on his particularly must-read list. Now, I have never really read any books on evolving, and I figure I would give it a shot, right? Because I have never really read any kind of books on evolving. And so I picked this one up, you know, and I had purchased it, I think a couple months back or something like that. And I really haven't read it. I was reading all these other books. And then finally I was getting to that point where I was like, well, I might as well read it, right? I had bought the book, so I started reading it, and it was one of those books you really get caught up in, right? Like, it was really, really interesting. And when you want to talk about evolving, right, this book is all about evolving, and it goes into everything that evolves, right? It goes from human beings and, you know, just our DNA and how, you know, animals have evolved, and how, you know, worlds and our environment play such a crucial role in our involvement in a lot of things that you really wouldn't think about. And it's actually astonishing, right? And it really dives into some different things about how, you know, how the woman, when she's pregnant, if she is going through some kind of stress or something, those hormones can really affect the way a child acts, right, during their adulthood. And it dives into everything about just animal involvement and how species have been extinct and how they essentially adapt to this new urban life, right? Before, where we all lived in essentially a time when, you know, we're hunters and gatherers, and there wasn't a lot of change. And it goes over the Darwin theory a lot in this book and talks about Darwin, and essentially, you know, bounces a lot of ideas and stuff off of Darwin's theory. And so this book, again, like, I was never one that was really into like evolving. I was like, yeah, it's interesting, right? But I never thought the book would really grip me like it did, right? And it really did, because it starts out talking about Darwin's theory and, you know, going into how the theory of mankind and stuff like that, and then just evolving, right? It goes into that theory, and then it just goes from there, and it goes into everything. It builds up from animals into humans, into, you know, how we're birthed, and into disease, how we, you know, essentially transmit diseases to our younger generations and stuff like that, which is really, really intriguing. And then it also goes into like DNA and DNA splicing, and how we could essentially perfect ourselves at some point, right? That's not too far down the road. Like, some of the stuff already exists, and, you know, essentially regenerating our whole body, right? I mean, it's just crazy, some of the technologies and stuff that they talk about in this book that are already in existence today. And so this book goes over a lot of that, and then starts even talking about, you know, going out and living on other planets and what it would take, and that we already have like bacteria and stuff like that on our current planet that would help us actually, you know, if we put that bacteria in our body, would help us, allow us to do more, you know, space travel and stuff like that, to deal with the radiation and stuff. And so it adds some really interesting science in it that, you know, a lot of this stuff you don't even think about. But this book is definitely one of those books you want to like pick up and read, because it's got some really interesting information, especially just about your everyday environment, right? It does have a good section of that it talks about, and how it does affect your everyday life, and a lot of things that we don't think about now, and how we're kind of, you know, we used to come from this point in time in the human history that, you know, we were very brutal, right? There was a lot of violence in our history, right? And to this point to where all that stuff's kind of coming out. So the essential, you know, Mother Nature playing its hand, you know, tries to play its hand when human beings are essentially altering that, right? And allowing people to live a lot longer than they were, and essentially changing everything and evolving us into this higher species, right? And so it's really intriguing book. And as far as like any cons of the book, I absolutely had no cons. I kind of came in with this mindset like this book might be okay, but I'm not really sure, and actually turning around and loving the book, right? This book was phenomenal. It was a great book, and it's some book that I think everybody should read, right? I think evolving and essentially where we're at now, right? Because a lot of people think that, you know, back when my parents' generation was growing up, you know, the development of modern computers and stuff was a big thing, but it's evolving even more out of that, right? There's even more to come, and this book really shows you that, like, what's in store for us in the future. And it is really intriguing and something I think everybody should read once in their life, right? This is the kind of book it is. And so if you guys are interested in this book, actually, I will keep it down in the description for you guys. And also, if you guys did enjoy this video, remember to hit that like on the way out. Until next time, I will see you guys later.